What's good, guys? This is Unjolly Ranchers diving into the shadows of life's untamed tales. Today's story is a bit of a wild one. If it weren't for pure luck, I probably would have froze to death, like no joke. Now, this story takes place back in December of 2015 when I was 14 years old. It was winter break and there I was doing what I loved. Chilling in my room, listening to Juice WRLD and playing some Black Ops 3 Zombies. While I was gaming, I got a text from my old homie, Mr. Miyagi. He was asking me what I was doing that night. So I told him, not much, just gaming. He then told me he had a vape he was trying to sell, sent me some pictures and asked me if I wanted to buy it, or maybe hang out. Now, growing up in the equivalent of South Park, there was never anything to do but play video games or get into trouble, so being bored of my game, I told him I'd be down to hang out and try the vape, maybe buy it off him. Now, it being 10 at night, there was no way my mom was gonna drive me out there, but I had an idea. So I snuck downstairs and went outside. When I got out there, it was snowing pretty hard and maybe 28 degrees out. Anyways, I walked into the shop to see how much gas my little red four-wheeler had. Sadly, it was almost empty and the gas station was closed. But sitting next to mine was my mom's boyfriend's four-wheeler with the keys inside. So I went back inside and called Mr. Miyagi. Hey bro, I have an idea if you're up for the adventure. He asked me what I had in mind, so I explained. So what if I drive my four-wheeler on the back roads to your house and give you a ride out here? It is freezing out, so you'd have to grab some warm clothes. Him being crazier than I am was like, hell yeah man, let's do it. Anything to get me out of the house. So I told him I'd be there in maybe a half hour and to grab everything he needed and to charge the vape. After we hung up, I put on a hoodie, a coat, my snow pants, some thin gloves, and my beanie. Then I grabbed my phone that was half charged and walked downstairs out the back door. I walked across my yard and went into the shop, slowly opening the big doors quietly as possible, then started the four-wheeler. Not trying to get caught, I didn't let it warm up and started my journey on this 12-mile drive to the next town over through what would soon become a blizzard. Drifting the streets, I left town and started heading through a foot of snow on the gravel road. Luckily, my mom's boyfriend, we'll just call him Woody, had great tires on his four-wheeler. So there I was doing 45 miles an hour in the deep snow. Maybe 5 minutes into my drive though, I started to freeze. My gloves were soaking wet, but that wouldn't stop me from getting to my friend's house. So I jumped off the four-wheeler and stood behind the exhaust, warming my hands and face with the warm fumes from the engine. Then got back on and continued my journey through the snow that was picking up at an insane rate. Now, every few minutes, I would get so freezing cold that I couldn't feel my face or my fingers. As I stood behind the exhaust for maybe the fourth time, I grabbed my phone and checked the time. It had already been a half hour since I left, and I had only gone maybe 4 miles. I had to take it slow, man. The faster I drove, the more frostbitten I felt. So once again, I got back on and pushed myself through this blizzard. There was no going back for me. I couldn't let myself. This was a quest I had to complete. I was maybe halfway there, but I felt so cold. I had no feeling in my face, hands, or toes, and the icy chill was starting to spread to the rest of my body. I surely knew if I didn't hurry, I would definitely freeze to death. So I hopped off one last time, opened up my coat and leaned my chest against the exhaust, bringing my arms inside my shirt, huddling myself for warmth. I was so close, but I had to keep going. Personally, it felt kind of like an apocalyptic survival game. Though I was close to freezing to death, I came to the conclusion, if I kept stretching this out and taking so many breaks, I'd surely run out of gas on the way home, and there's no way I would stay that night at Mr. Miyagi's just to be caught stealing the four-wheeler the next morning. So with one final bit of warmth I collected, I got back on and fucking floored it, doing 50 miles an hour blind on the back road I knew so well. Every second driving through the freezing temperature felt like fucking razor blades across my face. The pain was agonizing, but soon enough I was only a mile away. I just tried to think about things that were warm and comforting, trying to trick my mind into believing I was warm, picturing the wood stove at my house, warm cups of coffee, and the bowl of weed I'd smoke when I got home. Thinking of these things kept me pushing. I could no longer feel any part of my body. I couldn't even feel physical pain, but I made it. I finally made it into town. So I hopped off and opened my coat as my vision started to blur. I got behind the exhaust and tried my best to get warm again. Just to my luck, the snowstorm started to clear and it was a bit warmer in town. After maybe 10 minutes huddled close to this exhaust, trying my best not to breathe in the fumes, I could finally feel my fingertips again, so I continued my drive. The shitty part though, is that I couldn't remember how to get to Mr. Miyagi's house, so I opened up my coat pocket, grabbed my phone to call him, but due to the freezing temperatures, it wouldn't fucking turn on. So I ended up driving around the same few blocks for 30 minutes until I found his house. But as I drove, I finally recognized the right street to turn onto. I pulled up behind his house, shut off my four-wheeler, then knocked on his window and climbed in. Laying on the floor, I snatched his blanket and curled up into a ball, hiding underneath it. He asked me, "Dude, what the fuck happened to you?" But I couldn't speak, I had no energy. So after maybe 10 minutes, I sat up and told him how the drive went. He was blown away, asking me, "Dude, why didn't you just turn back?" So I told him, "I wanted to try that vape, man. I was bored and I couldn't let myself give up." He gave me a look of respect and handed me the vape, saying, "Bro, you've earned this. Take a long rip." I then put it up to my lips and took a long smooth drag of this fucking robot dick. Nicotine flooding my young 14-year-old body, making the room spin. I thought, ha, fucking worth it. Yeah, I made some pretty dumb choices growing up, man. I'll admit that much. To my surprise, Mr. Miyagi still wanted to come back with me to my house, so after an hour of warming up and eating a ham and cheese pizza pocket, we grabbed a few blankets to stay warm, jumped out his window, and started the four-wheeler. It was maybe 1 a.m. at the time, and luckily with the blankets we grabbed, it was a smooth ride at first. Now, fast forward to maybe 2 miles away from my hometown, the four-wheeler started to putter, and then it died. So I started it back up, made it another mile, and then it died again. Looking up into the night sky, I just thought, please, if anyone is listening right now, please just let us make it home. I don't want to get grounded. I tried to start it and she wouldn't turn over. Mr. Miyagi and I looking at each other with concern on our faces. Now, even at this point with the blankets, we were freezing already. But this time, we had no warm exhaust to heat us up. So I hopped off and opened the storage compartment in the back, hoping there was some fuel treatment in there that I could just dump in and it might be enough to get us home. But while I was looking, Mr. Miyagi opened the gas tank when I wasn't looking and looked inside. His dumbass didn't realize we were purely running on fumes alone, I guess. Sadly, I didn't find anything, so I hopped back on and tried one last time. Even after him opening the gas tank, to my surprise, she started right up. So I slowly gave her gas, feeling how she ran. We were only half a mile from my house, puttering and backfiring the last bit home until we finally made it. Yet right as we pulled up to the shop, the four-wheeler called it quits. I opened the shop door and we pushed her inside, closed the door, then snuck into my house and sat by the fireplace. Saying nothing, we just looked at each other in amazement of the adventure we just endured. So after we got warm, we went upstairs and played some Transit Zombies after I bought the vape from him. Now the next morning, my mom came up to my room around maybe 10 a.m. and opened my door saying, "Hey, where's the gas cap to Woody's four-wheeler and why is it empty?" Then saw Mr. Miyagi and said, "You really didn't drive to the next town over and get him last night, did you?" Being the little shit I used to be, I lied to her and said, "No, he got a ride up here from his mom and then we drove it to a friend's house. I must have left the cap up there when I checked the tank." I don't know if she believed me or just didn't want to argue, but she ended up leaving the room and just left it alone. Mr. Miyagi dabbed me up and we went back to sleep after the long exhausting night we just had. And that's the end of this one, guys. Definitely a crazy experience. The moral here is, don't do anything I did in this story. I almost froze to death over a fucking vape. It's gotta be one of the top 3 dumbest things I have ever done. And with that, I hope you all enjoyed hearing my dumbass almost freezing to death for a vape. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. If you guys have ever almost died before, I'd love to hear about it in the comment section. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more crazy stories. Stay tuned for more on Jolly Tales. Until next time, peace.